All right, everybody, happy Saturday. Today we are talking about how to improve your child's reading without even making them pick up a book. I know so many families in our program right now are just having the biggest issues with reading. And every time you try to sit down and get your child to read or even get them to do homework, sometimes it's so overwhelming for them that it brings up a lot of behavioral problems. And this is a huge source of tension. And it can get really uncomfortable. And I feel so bad for all the families struggling with this because, you want to help your child learn how to read. Obviously, that's super, super important. But I've had so many families say to me, even recently, it's just not even worth it anymore. What's the point in trying? They can't get it. And they just start feeling so down on themselves because they see all their other classmates reading and succeeding. And it can get really embarrassing and lead to a lot of shutting down behaviors. So if your child is shutting down when it comes to homework time, they're not wanting to engage, or they just don't want to participate in reading with you or working on homework, that can often be because they struggle so much with it and it causes this anxiety. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Hey, Peyton, thank you for joining. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you a free exercise on how to start improving your child's reading without making them even sit down and pick up a book. So if you do this all summer, I think the next semester in school is going to look so much better and so much easier for them. All right. So what I want to talk about first is why. What is going on in these kiddos' brains that is causing them to struggle with reading in the first place? Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining. So we've got the whole little Delta Genesis crew here today. I love it. So one of the things that a lot of kids that struggle with reading struggle with is something called visual focus, which is really exactly what it sounds like. But imagine if we were sitting in an office together and I'm talking to you about all this stuff and you're going to try really hard to pay attention to me, right? Because this is really important to you. We're talking about your child and the things that they're struggling with so much. But imagine in that office, I've got this huge window behind me. And outside that window, there is a parade of super brightly colored Corvettes. And somebody behind this shoulder is juggling fire. And this person over here is swallowing swords. That's a lot. And we don't have to deal with stuff like that super often. But you're going to try really hard to keep your eyes locked on me because what I'm talking about is important to you. You're going to try really hard to focus. But there's so much going on behind me. You're going to feel your eyes pulled off into what's going on back there. And then you're going to come back to me 5 minutes later and think to yourself, oh my gosh, I have no idea what she just said for the past 5 minutes. So your intention was to keep your eyes on me and stay focused with me and stay engaged with me, but because there was so much visual distraction happening behind me, you just couldn't. So our visual focus is probably not perfect. On a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being absolutely perfect, let's say we're at an 8 or a 9. I'm probably not at an 8 or a 9 right now, but let's say we're a little bit higher. So we don't have to deal with stuff like that very often. But when kids first start our program, and even adults that have ADHD, when they first start our program, we do some testing to figure out exactly where their visual focus is. And often we find that it's like a 2 or a 3 or sometimes even a 1, which is really, really low. So that situation that I just described is what life is like all day, every day, in every single situation for these kids. So think about, just trying to sit in a classroom and learn and read and pay attention. It's not going to happen because, teachers are taught that you should have these big, bright posters all over the classroom, and, you should get a class pet and, put your desks in all these fun arrangements. And there's a teacher's aide in there, and there's just so much stuff. This girl has a sparkly headband, and that kid has a cool, dirt bike on the back of his shirt. And there are just so many visual distractions where that situation that's really overwhelming and definitely going to distract us is what it's like all day, every day, in every single situation for them. It's just too much and they can't focus. So if they can't control their eyes enough to just be able to keep their eyes where they want to keep their eyes on their homework or on their teacher or whatever, reading is going to be almost completely impossible. I'll never forget this conversation that I had with one of our clients who was actually the kid that was in our program, this little girl, and she couldn't read. She could read if you held one word up at a time, she could do her spelling words and stuff, but it had to be huge and it had to be right in front of her face and there couldn't be anything else on the page. She could read it, she could spell it, she could use it in a sentence. The intelligence was there. And that's the thing. This is often happening in kids that are highly, highly intelligent. And we get these shut down behavior problems where they're not working on homework even though they're so smart. And we, parents and teachers say things like, I know you're smart enough to do this. You can get it. You just don't want to. You're just being lazy. But that is not the case. When the visual cortex is not controlling the eyes properly, this kind of thing just becomes impossible. But anyway, so she could read it, she could spell it, she could use it in a sentence, she knew the definition, but when it came to reading it in a sentence, she just fell apart. She couldn't do it. She was in 2nd grade and she was at like a kindergarten reading level, like literally working on sight words, just in like a reading environment. She just couldn't do it. And I remember I got to be in on one of her IEP meetings, and she was in the meeting with us, which I wasn't super happy about. So I asked her, hey, Sierra, what is it like for you when you read? What makes it easier? What makes it harder? What have you noticed in yourself? And I'll never forget her answer. She said, if there are pictures on the page, I can't see the words and I get a headache. So she's trying to read, but her eyes are literally fighting against her intention and being pulled over to the picture. So doing things like obviously blocking out all the other words, blocking out the pictures, that kind of thing was really, really helpful for her. But I think that's such a good example of what it's like to have low visual focus. You want to keep your eyes on the word. They're just being pulled in these other directions and you can't control it. And you've got this constant battle going on between what you want and what your eyes are trying to do. And that caused her to have a headache. So, grandma and grandpa, she was living with her grandma and grandpa at the time. And when they came to me, they were like, she just has so many behavior problems when we do homework. She's just so defiant. Of course, she's so defiant. It gives her a headache and she feels like she's failing all the time, even though she's really intelligent. So I want to talk about some exercises and give you guys some tools to start strengthening the connection between the visual cortex and the eyes. So the visual cortex is all the way back here in the brain and our eyeballs are all the way up here, which is kind of a little bit of a ridiculous design, and I'm not sure why it works that way, but they're really far away from each other. And because they're so far away from each other, that makes them some of the most sensitive networks in the brain. So if we have any issues at all with primitive reflex retention, I had to bring up primitive reflexes in this. We have issues with primitive reflex retention or sensory motor function, or, we have a traumatic brain injury. Those types of things will cause issues with visual function. So it's normal for them to be really low for kids. Pretty much everybody that we work with in our program has focus issues, and a lot of them have reading issues. But so the one exercise that I want you guys to try with your kiddos, and you can do it this weekend, it's going to be super short, super easy. And you can also think about this kind of like a test too, because you're going to find out my kid cannot follow along with my finger while we do this exercise the way that I thought that they would be able to. So the exercise that you're going to do to improve reading and improve focus is a really simple one. You're just going to use your finger and you're going to be about 18-ish inches, 18 to 24 inches away from their face and their eyes. And you're going to use your finger and you're going to trace a figure 8 around their eyes like this. So we're going to do a figure 8, but as you get to the corner of your figure 8, I want you to hold it for 3 seconds, and then you're going to come back up to the top of your figure 8. And as you do this, you want to stretch their eyes in each direction as far as they can go. So we're coming all the way down as far as we can go and holding for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and then coming up with my finger and holding for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and then slowly down to this side over here and holding for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and then up to the top for 1, 2, 3 seconds. So this is accomplishing 2 things at the same time. First, we're working on wide eye stretches. So we're actually strengthening the muscles behind the eyes so the brain can control them better. And we're also working on tracking. So this slow eye movement, you want it to be really slow. You don't want to speed it up as they get better with this. You want it to be super, super slow so they can follow along and stay visually focused with your finger. And that's going to increase the connectivity between the visual cortex and the eyes. So keep that up for 1 minute and let me know how it goes. I know this is a really simple exercise, but it can have profound results with your kids if you do it twice a day for 1 full minute, 2 times a day for the rest of the summer. Every single day you are going to see improvements in focus and in reading. But I would love to hear if you have any questions at all. If you try this out and your kiddo really, really struggles with it, there are so many things that we can do to modify this and make it easier to help them get engaged with it a little bit. You can do things like use your phone. You can use like the face filters on your phone. A lot of kids follow along really well with that, or you can use a toy that they really like that they're going to follow a little bit better, whatever we have to do. But you guys, we've seen so many kids get crazy improvement with reading. Rachel, who was on here just a second ago, her little guy had such crazy improvement with reading just in the first couple of weeks. He went from not being able to read anything on his own, like couldn't even do homework sheets on his own because he couldn't read the instructions, to picking up books and reading them to his sister. So there's a lot of room for improvement. We can fix these things. You just have to put in the work on the exercises. So let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything else we can do for you. And don't forget, we have our June Jumpstart program that's going on right now. I have 2 spots left at 45% off. We just had another family enroll yesterday. So I've got 2 spots left at 45% off. So get in there and get that done if that's something that you're interested in, or we can just do a consultation, a free consultation to talk about it. If we haven't done that yet, you can just go to deltagenesis.org/consultation and we can chat about it. But we're also doing our 2-week challenges, which have been so cool. We've gotten so many amazing results on that. And we've actually reduced the price. So it used to be $77, and right now we are going to do it for $14 for the next 2 groups. So starting this Monday and starting next Monday, only $14. So it's $1 a day essentially for a 2-week challenge where you get personalized coaching from me for those 2 weeks. You get access to the first 2 weeks of our online program. And I know that you're going to see so much amazing change just from doing that. So schedule a consultation with me anytime. You can always send us a message, comment on here if you're interested in any of our programs. And I think that's all I got for you guys today. So yeah, have a fabulous rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you guys again soon. I think we're going live on Tuesday, but it's not going to be me. Mike is going to go live again and talk about another one of his just absolutely wonderful, amazing, impressive parenting hacks of the way that he and Angela are teaching their kids about self-discipline. It's another thing that I've just seen really reduce like arguing and meltdowns even, and all kinds of cool stuff. So join us on Tuesday for that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.